Welcome to Owsley County High School's Today's FIRECAST. I'm your host, Charles Davidson. We're just here to highlight some of the great things going on in Owsley County High School, and we hope you enjoy. My name is Charles Davidson. I'm the principal here at Owsley County High School, and we're going to be speaking with Miss Jennifer Hall today with some awesome things that she's doing for her school with virtual reality. And I'd like to introduce Miss Jennifer Hall.
Hello.
Jennifer, I first want to start out just asking you, how did you get the idea of virtual reality, and how did you think it would help us here at Owsley County?
Well, a couple years ago, our superintendent, Dr. Bobrowski, had a demonstration set up of a new technology that was on the education scene, Z-Space. And he set the demonstration up, and we went over and watched it because I was kind of intrigued exactly what they meant by 3D virtual reality. And what the Z-Space does is it incorporates virtual and augmented reality to create 3D images that students can interact with and dissect. And when I saw it, I had never seen any type of technology like that before in the classroom. So I teach high school science, and I know a lot of times our kids struggle with the concepts that if they can't see it, they don't really understand it. So I thought, wow, what a great way that we would be able to bridge some of those educational gaps or learning gaps in student understanding of content if we had something like this in our classroom.
Awesome. What are some of the things that you noticed that day when we first started looking at the Z-Spaces that really intrigued you, some of the programs and things that the kids could really do?
Well, I was really impressed. They had a lot of science, so of course, you know, that kind of drew me to the Z-Spaces. And what I was really impressed about it is that the images were so realistic, and it was just basically like you were looking at it, holding it in your hand, and that you could dissect it, you could rotate it, you could look through it, you could take a camera and actually go through the different layers, and that would just really impressed me, that the reality of it.
So I know that in your classes now, I've been in and seen your classes using the Z-Spaces and the virtual reality. Well, what are some of the kids saying about it at the moment?
Every day they ask me, can we go back to the Z-Space? Today, they saw people in the room and they're like, are we going to get to go to Z-Space today? So, and I've tried to use it. We're still in the learning curve of learning how to use it and how to incorporate it best so it fits in with their lessons. But the students are really excited about this new technology here, and they're excited to come to school when they know that we get to use the Z-Spaces.
How has it changed the way you look at lesson planning through the day? How's it changed your lessons, or how are you using it in your lessons?
Well, like in my lesson plans, like our junior, senior life science class is getting ready to do an interactive autopsy with COSI in a couple weeks. And the way I can use virtual reality is just on the regular computers, they can do a virtual autopsy so that when it comes time for them to actually interact with a pathologist talking about the autopsy, they know the steps because they've sort of kind of done it on their own virtually. Then we can come in here to the Z-Space room, and because it's going to be a video conference of a pre-taped autopsy, you know, they're not actually going, they will see the organs, but they're not going to be able to, you know, like look through them like they could with the Z-Space. So we'll come in here and we'll look at the organs that's most likely going to be used or examined during the autopsy so that when the pathologist is talking about those, they have a better understanding of what that is.
What are some ways that you think our school can focus, not just in sciences, our school as a whole can really benefit from the virtual reality?
Well, I think that over the years teaching here, I have observed that a lot of our students are visual learners. And a lot of people will say, hey, I learn better if I can actually make some type of visual connection to the content. And one of the things about the Z-Space is it's a collaboration among students. Up to 3 students can work on one desktop. And it's not just science. It has math programs, it has social studies, it has English, it has vocational. So our students that are interested in automotive can actually go on there and practice taking an engine apart before they have to actually go do it in real life.
Good. I know I've been in your class lessons and seen several of your lessons, and I know that we've talked through the last few weeks about expanding out. What would be your ultimate goal when everything's said and done, we've got everything we want? What would you like for it to look like and be like?
Well, the vision that we've kind of talked about for our district is to have a virtual reality lab which one section would be dedicated entirely to video conferencing so that we can access content providers from different states or different parts of the world, or video conference with students either in the next county, in the next state, or even across the world globally. And then the other part I would like to see dedicated to the virtual reality equipment. We have the 3Z spaces now, and we recently got a KISTI grant, which we can purchase 3 more virtual reality desktops. And I would also like to have some fully immersive technology in here also, because our kids, a lot of them, some of them have never been to out of the state of Kentucky. I'm always surprised every year at the number of kids who's never seen the ocean, and by having that virtual immersive technology, we can let them walk on the moon or do some things that we can't do in a classroom.
So in a virtual lab, not only do we have the Z spaces, you're focusing on doing a lot of video conferences, allowing our students to get a lot of access to other areas of the world. Would you care to expand on that?
Well, Owsley County is lucky to be part of the GOAL grant from KEDC that is supported by Kentucky Power. And through that, we've been able to connect our students with content providers that on topics that normally we would not teach in the classroom. And I previously mentioned the autopsy that our life science students are getting ready to video conference with. And I also have next week, our 10th grade biology students are going to be working with the Challenger Learning Center in West Virginia, in which they're doing a video conference called Cyber Surgeons, where they are medical teams who have to diagnose patients as they come through and determine what's wrong with them. And it's kind of they've set up where they're working together in teams, and it creates that more realistic setting than what we could give them in a classroom. And then a couple weeks after that, our life science students are going to be conferencing with the Cleveland Museum of History, and they're going to be doing a disease detectives where they have to determine the epidemiology of an outbreak of food poisoning. So, and I know our social studies teacher also has a couple of video conferences set up with his students. So I think by using technology, we can kind of bridge that gap. We are kind of in an isolated rural area, but we do have access to high-speed internet. We do have Wi-Fi available in our schools. So we can use that technology to kind of bridge that distance between us and some other parts of the world and country.
It sounds like you have an awesome plan for the virtual reality room for kids, and from us from Owsley County, especially being the principal here, thank you for everything you do and making sure that the access to our kids and making sure that they get the best education they can. So thank you. My name is Charlie Davidson, the principal here at Owsley County High School, and I'm talking today with Mr. Noah Noble, our social studies teacher, about some of the exciting things that's going on here with virtual reality and the virtual lab here that we've started this school year. How are you, Mr. Noble?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I know that you've had some hands in Miss Hall on building and some ideas on building the virtual reality room and kind of jumping in and helping design it. What are some kind of things that you would like to see happen with it?
With our virtual reality room, it's first thing is we outgrew it very quickly. We come along, we had this great idea, and we put it into motion, and come about really quickly that we outgrew the room. I mean, it just was. We have so much potential, we have so much good things going that a normal classroom, conventional classroom, doesn't work for us. So that's a good thing, I guess. Some other ideas that we actually had for it is with the video conferencing that we're doing and the virtual reality thing. Is doing a little bit more of the PR side of it and showing what we have to offer our kids outside of just these 4 walls. And that's a big thing, and actually reaching out to other parts of the school and showing them the potential that this room has as well. Outside of those 2 things, I think we'd really like to see some, more innovative things come in with our 3D printers and the Z spaces. Collaborating those together. We actually did some training on that a couple weeks ago, and how they could actually work together, which was really neat.
I know I was in here when you got to do the interview with with the young ladies from the governor's office, or not young ladies, the individuals from the governor's office. Well, how does your kids feel about that?
With Senator McConnell's office, they were so gracious to do that with us, and they took a time out of their day on a Friday to do that with us. And the kids really liked it. They were nervous at first about it, and they had problems kind of like deciphering what we were actually going to be doing after I explained it to them a little bit, and we worked through the process of because they wanted their questions up front, and after we worked through that process and we refined their questions that they were going to ask and stuff, and we actually got in there and it kind of got going. They really enjoyed it. I think the length was a little long maybe, and it was the first time we'd done it, so there's some things we could refine on that end. But I think they really enjoyed it, and seeing how there was these people work with our Senator McConnell that goes to Washington, D.C. for us, and to actually see people that do such an important job and actually how normal they were, that was a neat thing. I think they really enjoyed that part of it.
I think it helps us. It gives our kids in a rural area access to things that we've not had in the past.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think you all have done a really good job branching out and finding those interviews. What's some things that you foresee coming in the future?
With the video online stuff. I'd like to see, with the grant through Kentucky Power, we got access to a lot of money right now that goes along with that stuff, and getting the paid programs. Like, for example, I'm doing a World War I one with the Woodrow Wilson Library in April. And having access to that kind of stuff is really neat. There's a website that we're actually working through with that, and a lot of them are free. A lot of that material is free. And we actually spoke at the meeting on, I guess it was Tuesday, and getting everyone else to get on board with that. I would really, really like to see at least every teacher in the building do at least one of them a semester, because they're so cool and they're so interactive. And it's just, you get to see these experts talking to these kids about it. And I think that would be one of the biggest things I'd like to see in the future, is everyone at least doing one.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Noble. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
What I've seen since we've started using the ZSpace virtual reality desktops is that students are collaborating more. If you sit there and put them in group work and you tell them to do a worksheet or do a project together, they may or may not work collaboratively, but I've really seen an increase in collaboration among students, showing each other and helping each other, and the things that they've discovered, they want to teach the other students about it. So they actually have become teachers themselves.
It's just more interesting to see actually how it works, and instead of being told just to your face or doing worksheets over it.
Instead of it being like on a plain piece of paper and it just like a blurry picture, it's like actual 3D and you can see everything going on.
We did a lesson on it, and it walked us through the experience of how photosynthesis takes place. So it showed us step by step on how it did it, and we can move the things around to see how they work and why they do what they do.
The biggest thing for the virtual reality for me is giving the kids experiences, giving them the opportunity to see things that they might not get to see before, and giving them the highest quality education that we can through these experiences with our teachers, well-developed lessons, and teachers are willing to branch out and do these kind of things to provide our students the opportunities. Means a lot to our kids, and that's the biggest thing of being a principal here at the school, that we provide our kids with opportunities just like any other school would.
My junior class, that we were studying the human body systems, and they had to create their own lesson plan about their human body system. And I told them, create lessons that you would want. If you were the student, what would you want to be doing in class? And probably 2/3 of the teams came in here and got on ZSpace and researched the different programs and incorporated one of their activities into their lesson that they taught. So it shows, they really like the technology and they want to use it.
Gives them a different way to look at a problem, and if you pull the problem out, there's 2 or 3 different ways to fix it. And we know everything that works, and we get to learn all these different things about it with all these tips and tricks that they show us, and it's really cool.
We're doing the autopsy in a couple weeks with COSI, and the autopsy is pre-recorded, but they'll be interacting live with the pathologist. The pathologist is talking about the kidneys. Well, they've already been in here and dissected the kidney. They understand how it works. They understand the importance of it. So they have a deeper understanding of the content when they do the autopsy, so it makes it more relevant to things they're learning. It makes that real life connection, and kids don't ask, why do I need to learn this?
And Lisa are in like the nursing program at the vocational school, so being with like just something that we can actually look at instead of being told face to face, it helps a whole lot with just learning more about the things that we need to know for when we grow up.
Especially in science, you don't really get to look into things that you can't see with the naked eye. So with the Z-Space, we can really look into things like photosynthesis and cells. So it's really helped with that.
I'm the principal here at Mr. Charlie Davidson here at Owsley County High School, and I'm going to be speaking with Mr. Gary Cornett, our district innovation coordinator here at district and DPP. And Mr. Cornett has a big hand in what goes on in our school district when it deals with technology and innovation. How are you, Mr. Cornett?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good. I guess we'll just start out and see, I know that you've had a lot of hand in building things for students throughout the years in innovation. What's some ideas for the virtual lab that you have?
Well, one of the things, Ms. Hall, we looked at these virtual reality, the Z-Spaces a couple years ago. We came in and got some demonstrations, but it was more of a cost thing. Everything was great, and then with some of the issues that you've had with across the state with funding and all that, but with Ms. Hall's ability to go out and get grants and some of the help from the district, we're able to have these three, I think there are maybe 3 or 4 more that we're going to be getting. The students are able to go in, just like you're doing frog dissection, instead of actually having to go and actually have the frog laying out in front of you. You've got the virtual reality stuff. It works also with all content areas, vocational programs. I remember when they first demonstrated, we looked at like the mechanics part of it, where you was able to break down a diesel engine, look at the individual parts and all that. And I know I've been in some of Ms. Hall's classes where the kids have actually been looking at parts of the human body anatomy and been able to break the heart down and several things like that. So it's just going to gives the kids more of a hands-on approach to a lot of stuff that's going on that they've never before had in Owsley County.
Yeah. Well, I know being a former science teacher yourself, what are some things that you could see going on if in a normal classroom if you were still science teaching?
Well, I was a big botany guy and a good plant science, I won't say a good plant science guy, but more towards the plant science and more of the earth science stuff with the biology. But, it's hard to go in and dissect plants and looking at the different parts from the meristematic tissue and stuff like that. And where with this, you're able to go in, you can actually see the different parts of xylem, phloem, and stuff like that. So it allows access that we've never had before. Going through microscopes and having to go through dyes and stuff like that, it's just much more complicated, it's much more time consuming, whereas now if I'm doing a botany lab, they're able to just have it, they can zoom in, they can take it, they can pull the parts apart. And the same way, it's just like with doing the cell, you're able to go in, look at the cell, look at the different organelles in the cell, how they each interact with each other and all that. It's just a lot more consumer friendly, I guess, for the teacher and especially, I think, for the students.
I know you coming in out of classrooms too a lot here at OCHS. What are some of the things you've heard the kids saying about the virtual reality?
Well, I actually came in, I guess it was one of the first times that they were using it in Miss Hall's room, and the kids were all, it's just that amazement part of it. When we first got them in, we cracked them open out of the box, and we had a couple students that were just middle school students that were head over heels and infatuated with it. We bring them in, they looked at everything. We like never in the world got them to go back to class, but it was just the oohs and the ahs, and you're going to classroom, open your textbook up, we're going to work on this, or we're going to be doing, the parts of the cell through the textbook. It's just not as fun when you're able to bring it in and go, all right, kids, you're going to be able to look at this in virtual reality, but actually delve into the cell, get see what's going on inside it. You start getting oohs and ahs, and then in that return, the kids are more interested in it. They're going to put a higher focus, and it's going to make them want to come to school, make the courses much more interesting.
Awesome. Well, I think it's super for students to be able to get the opportunities that a lot of schools not getting right now with the Z-Spaces. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, we've got a lot of stuff going on here, and and I'm going to give a shout out to KVEC while we're doing all this. We've done the innovation grants. We've had teachers that's got 3D printers. They've been through different PAN groups and stuff. They've done a lot to put resources for our students and students in Eastern Kentucky that we've never had before. I've brought drones in for Mr. Kelton's middle school technology courses. We've got students that's going to be involved in the drone races. We've got middle school kids and elementary kids that are participating in code.org. They're doing coding right now. And, just like with the virtual reality stuff, 10, even 5 years ago, this stuff was unheard of in Owsley County. And with, you've got teachers that are willing to take the bull by the horn, so to speak. They are wanting to do innovative approaches. You've got leadership that's willing to push that, and you've got the resources through KVEC and people out there to provide support. And it's changing your whole school, and it's changing education as we know it in Eastern Kentucky.
My name is Charles Davidson, principal of Owsley County High School, and my guest was Mr. Gary Cornett, our District Innovation Coordinator, and thanks everybody for watching.